Welcome back. We just mentioned it when it comes to fitness. It can be hard to squeeze it into our busy summer days, but Randy Kay is joining us today from Naturally Randy Kay to talk about how important it is to also take some time for some self-care. In other words, NAPS, naps. Right, Randy Kay?
I like that.
I do too.
Actually, yes, naps is an important thing to do in the summer.
There you go.
But yeah, so self-care is tuning into your needs and then acting accordingly. A lot of times we think of self-care as something to, I don't know, a bubble bath or something like that, which it's part of it, but it's not all of it. And so my tips for this summer are a little bit more general, but the first one is to do nothing. That's my favorite self-care tip out there. I do that year round. Thank you very much. That's how I start every morning, is I sit down with my coffee and I just do nothing. Because in a world where there's schedules and to-do lists and and even, you know, self-care can become anxiety driven because you're like, oh, I gotta do this. Like you guys were talking about with the Quartz Plus gal, like you know, you think it's like go big or go home, right? So instead of stressing out, why don't you just make some time to do absolutely nothing? And in the summertime, it's even more important because it's a very active time of year, so we have to be countering that with some rest. And so afternoon naps, if you ever want to justify that, summer's the time.
I justify naps for sure. I love that idea, but when you said do nothing, I have to admit it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh,
but think about
because there's 10 things I need to do. You're saying I should do nothing?
The great thing about that, though, I got to ask you, so you accomplish nothing in the morning, then the rest of your days will win, right?
Yeah.
True. Yeah. I mean, I found that I get anxiety if I don't have time of just to myself. And so I've just made that the first thing that I do so I can check in and get clear on how I want the day to go. And so that's a great thing. The second tip that I have is to set healthy habits. So you know, in the winter time when you just really don't feel like doing anything, you don't have a lot of fuel to set new habits a lot of the time. So summertime, like you can get up earlier with the sun, you know, you have more vibrant day, a little bit more fuel you can use to set some things into place, so then when winter comes you don't have to try so hard.
Because it takes some time to set the habit.
Yeah, you have to
give a conscious effort.
Yeah, you have to give your brain time to reprogram that habit. So even if you do something for a week and then you go back, it's like you don't feel bad about yourself because you just didn't give yourself enough time. So use the whole summer. The next thing is to refuel. So eat healthy foods, go to the farmer's market, get sunshine, because you're going to be more depleted in the other months. And so now is the time to really refuel and restore yourself to optimal health. Just like Chris looked in that photo earlier, you know, use that as some motivation. But so then when the winter comes, you have something to go on. So
now you have a new lunch break yoga class starting soon. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so to add to the vibrancy of summer, a little pick-me-up, I'm offering a drop-in yoga class at my studio on 8th Street downtown. So it's from 11:30 to 12:20. It's just 50 minutes. Come in and have a little break.
I love that.
So, yeah.
And before you go too, you mentioned that you're doing some podcasts that we weren't aware of.
Oh yeah, I have a podcast. It's a weekly podcast. I do a lot of self-care tips. I have a lot of wonderful interviews with people a lot wiser than me. And that's Simple Self-Care Podcast, and you can search that on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
I love that. I'm going to check that out maybe on my next nice stroll, you know, listen to your pod, a little inspiration.
Good for you.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll add